Alright, I'm ready. So, let's talk about Games Workshop, and there's a lot of stuff going on right now. So I'm going to break it down by topic. There's Games Workshop price increase.
Yikes.
There is Games Workshop change in terms with retailers, apparently. I just heard about this morning. And then there's general issues with it. And so when I'm probably going to have an opinion that's different than most of what you've read. I would dare say more measured. And what I'm hoping to do is give try and help think about it from a different perspective. So let's talk about price increases. In the free market, you are welcome to put whatever price you like on your product or service. And it's occurred to me that, like in the United States, this is an almighty power given to business. A business of any size, for the most part, has no limitations on the prices they can set. They can pay. Like for me, for this infantry figure, basic level 3 infantry, I could charge 10 cents if I wanted. I could literally go in and charge $10,000 a figure. Now, the ball has been served. So what's going to happen? If your prices are too high, you get a punishment. The punishment is people don't buy your thing. Then you get none. And so businesses, rightfully so, should be very concerned about their price points and how they position themselves. But you can't forget the other end of things. Blue Table Painting charges what I consider to be a fair price for a commercially produced painted army, or, you know, we do go down to one figurine. And because we have something that I call sustainability. When I see someone come on and they say, well, I'm charging $3 a figure to produce the same quality that we do, which would be less than half of what we charge, I know that person is probably not going to be in business for very long. Because that's the other side, is that if your price is too high, the market's going to punish you, or not punish, punitively, it's not cruelty, is going to react to you by simply not buying whatever it is you're selling. That's why I always laugh when if I put an army up, so that's too much. Well, we'll see in the next 6 months if it's too much. Because as you'll notice, I actually do sell these armies. They are gone. They do have little sold markers on all of them. And that's an answer. The answer is, Sean, you did not charge too much for your stuff. You charged the right amount, or less. But if you charge too little, there's another reaction in the market which happens on the other side of your business, which is you can't pay your rent, you can't pay yourself, and so you've got to be charging enough to do things. So Blue Table Painting, for example, we have vastly improved our process. We've improved our customer service. We have improved, for example, if your model breaks, even if it's your own fault, we will take care of that and ship back to you at no charge. That's pretty huge. And there are limitations on that. Obviously, I wouldn't have somebody send their dragon's broken wing back 5 times. But we do take care of problems, and so far what the demand has been for follow-up, we've been able to meet that customer service demand. So there's more to a product than just, okay, I got my physical thing, I paid you the money. There is, how is that company improving their product? In our case, for example, I am now able to attract very high levels of talent here because of the wages and the conditions of working here are good enough to get art graduates, to get people who are very good. I've even recently had a miniature painting company say, well, we want to merge with you. Go ahead. And I think that's really neat. Miniatures painting right now is really one of the freest markets out there. And that's because there's not a lot of government interference, other than, of course, what every company endures in the United States, which is payroll. Payroll, taxes, reporting, regulations, hiring tax accountants, keeping mountains of paperwork, just cases of just paperwork, just in case, just to keep yourself safe, in case of an audit. All an absolutely ridiculous system to go about things. But that's a topic for another issue. I'm getting around, I'm laying a foundation for a comment on Games Workshop. So GW, guess what, guys? They're a business, and they're in it to make a profit. They're not a charity. And so what they've done is they serve out a price, and it's up to the market to say what we think of that. And so far, the market has accepted it. The market has said yes to everything Games Workshop is doing. Therefore, looking at it in a free market sense, it's okay. There's no moral turpitude there. Yeah, if they raise their prices, well, it's up to you. But let's just not forget what else they do. They provide a context in which they provide a value. So, like, let's say you buy an army for Cronopia, and you spend $400 in 1997 to buy a Cronopia army. Well, guess what? Target Games did not follow up with you. They let you down because they went and got themselves out of business. Therefore, the value of the investment you put in that, not just to buy the models, but, oh my gosh, the time investment, or if you have your models professionally painted, the money investment of having them assembled and painted. They let you down. But Games Workshop doesn't do that. Games Workshop has a track record, and so you know when you buy an army, you're going to have people to play it against, and the game isn't just going to dry up and blow away. There's going to be a base for it. Not always, but because I've heard some areas, Warhammer Fantasy has kind of gasped its last and is being taken over by other things. But 40K, you buy a 40K army, and there will be new releases, there will be articles in White Dwarf, there's a huge fan base on the internet, so you're going to have that kind of support, and you really can't, devalue that backup thing. Although a lot of that support comes from the fans themselves. So, I'm not praising and extolling everything Games Workshop does, because I'll have some comments later on the other side. I'm just saying, let's not forget the good things they've done. It always reminds me of Monty Python's Life of Brian, where the rebels are, what have the Romans done for us? And then someone pipes up, it's like, well, they built roads. Well, besides roads, what have they done for us? And then someone pipes up, the education system. Well, besides the roads and the education, and then the shtick goes, from there. Besides this and 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 this, what have the Romans done for us? And so, let's just give credit where credit's due. And now the other side. Oh, I almost did that little popping noise. I'm going to keep doing it. So, unfortunately, because I'm an advocate of decentralization of power, I think power should be decentralized. The greatest concentration of power should be at the village level. A community of 600 people can almost completely just take care of all of its own basic needs. Thomas Jefferson, I believe, called them wards. As a Mormon, I'm actually in a ward with 110 families, and because we're so close-knit, we actually do take care of most of our problems. But that's another topic, of course. I'm for decentralization of power. Go ahead. So, I want you to imagine for a moment, what if the market share weren't 95% Games Workshop? And I do think that's about right. If you don't count historicals, maybe 90%. Let's go with 90. And then 10%, you know, little slices of other, you know, Privateer Press, maybe 5%. I really don't know. If someone knows the numbers, let me know. I know gross sales for Games Workshop in recent years in the U.S. has been 40 million. I've heard that number. So yeah, it's quite a bit. But imagine a world where that pie were divided 10 ways. There were 10 different games. Think of the difficulties associated with that, roughly equally. Well, to invest in an army, you'd have, instead of 20 guys playing that game at your local game shop, for example, you'd only have 2 guys down there playing it. So there's a critical mass with a following nationally or worldwide that either increases or decreases the value of your investment. Now, with a game, if the investment is really small, like let's say to get into a game it only costs $10. Well, okay, great. Then you do 50 different games. But there's another investment, which is a problem, which is this, is brain power to learn all of those games. So the fact is, the nature of war games in terms of money investment, time investment, and learning investment is to consolidate the game systems. And I imagine, and you also have to realize this pie, of which Games Workshop is 90% of it, that gives them the leverage to pretty much do what they want. And they are going to keep doing that. And I am going to continue either making the decision to buy their stuff, support their stuff, or buy somebody else's stuff and support somebody else's stuff. Put your money where your mouth is. So as a painting studio, I don't care, because I'll be painting up whoever the winner is, I'll be painting up their stuff. And I'm happy to do it. But Games Workshop does have good fill rates, which is nice. And whereas other games like Infinity, I'm having a devil of a time getting the stuff that I need. And some of it's just not available. Like I need 8 of this particular blister right now, and guess what? You just can't get it anywhere. It's just not out there. That's pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. So, and that's why all these dunces are going out of business. And GW's just laughing. They gotta be laughing that people are just killing themselves. Where was I? Oh, you don't remember.
The pie.
It was, hold on a second. It was the investment. It was the pie. So the nature of making that money, time, and learning investment in a game makes it so that the wargaming market lends itself to consolidation. But 90 and everybody else on 10, whoa, that's not healthy. That is just not healthy. So, but to get critical mass, a company really has to be in it for the long term, 10 or 20 years, I would say. Oh, but the pie is getting bigger. So it's possible for a company to come in, get market share, but for Games Workshop actually to continue growing. And because people don't think this through, I don't think, that, Games Workshop, and they need to go down. No. They put out a good product, they give good support, they've done a lot for this hobby. So, but I do imagine that slice of other becoming bigger and bigger. If it were me, and I had godlike powers, first, I would not exercise them because I believe in individual freedom on principle, and it's not right to force other people to adhere to what your utopia is. Heather's pulling faces. But, it's a thing. But it would be nice if the free market divvied that pie up a little bit. I'd actually like to see 4 game systems roughly the same market share. And then maybe, a 12% thing, an eighth of a slice as, eighth of a slice, an eighth of the pie as a slice, as just other stuff, up and coming. That would be really neat. You should also know, just as a side note, Blue Table Painting is going to be entering that market. We're throwing our hat in the ring. Heather just suggested another great program is we do Q&A. We do, maybe once a week, we do a blurb where people email in questions and we answer them. Yeah. All right, so...
you were talking about upcoming...
Yeah, up-and-coming games. So obviously Privateer Press has been around for 10 years, I think, now, something like that. And
you wanted to make one?
oh yeah, we are throwing our hat in the ring. Not as like some kind of huge contender, but it is time, because I really think we could do better. I think we could do better than any other company, and we just need to be in it for the long haul and be smart. Because these 15 years, I've been watching all the mistakes these companies make, and oddly, named characters. I think named characters are death. That is my #1 issue.
Don't do it.
Not #1. #1 would be stocking and longevity and support. That would be a big deal. But you know, be a good member of the community. That's really a big deal. Well, anyway, but more to come on that. Really, 2011 is really just the planning stage for that, and then in 2012, you're actually going to see something about it.
There's Sean
So anyway,
stretching.
Games Workshop. Yeah, sorry about that. So I don't view Games Workshop as a villain. I view them as a business, acting logically and reasonably. And for a business, like if Disney owned Games Workshop, a lot more people would be ruined with lawsuits. I did hear, it's just a rumor, maybe somebody can confirm, that Games Workshop has sued or put out cease and desist orders to Privateer Press, saying that their warjacks were too close to a Space Marine dreadnought, for example, that they did that, and that Privateer Press has had to survive basically torpedo salvos of lawsuits from Games Workshop. Now that I consider to be dirty business. That is dirty business. If the suit isn't over a legitimate complaint, but rather just to undercut an up-and-coming competitor. I'd have to say, if that turned out to be true, yeah, it's time to slice up that pie a little more evenly. And it starts with us, and not with animosity. Not, oh, we want to take down this thing, but we want to grow this other thing. And it's me. I have not done Privateer Press battle reports nearly enough for how great that game is. And I have to really tip my hat to Privateer Press for sticking with it this long. They've been great members of the community, great business philosophy, great models, great art, great concept, game background, support, good fill rates.
Yes.
They've done it all, and they deserve really a bigger market share than they have right now. And so I'm going to do my part to divide up my resource in terms of exposure, like the battle reports. I'm going to do battle reports on other games. Because you're like Dark Age, ooh, Dark Age, wow, we're going to show you all about Dark Age. And then I was like, yeah, not going to happen. So, well, but we are going to do one, because Cool Mini gave me some free product, and I told them that I would paint them up, and I would do a report and a blurb. And I am going to come through with that. Maybe not as soon as I'd hoped, but I did paint them up right away, and so I did the blurb, and I did something right away. Hold on. So, in summary on that section, I think it would be great if, instead of being up in arms, again, the same thing plays itself out every year. Just, you know, find another game. Try Privateer Press. Try Infinity. And that's going to be my goal over the coming months, is to show you other games, teach you how to play other games, help you with that learning curve for other systems. And there's also D&D 4th edition, which is now a miniatures battles game. And a pretty good one, in my opinion. All right, so let's move on. So by all means, express your opinion. Just be polite. And I just want to be clear. Games Workshop, there's a reason why they've been successful. And if anything, I'm upset at all the companies that weren't paying attention that could have been contenders. Rackham, for example. Rackham had it all,
Was
and they
amazing.
blew it.
Amazing.
They blew it, yeah. One thing you have to watch out for, though, is overseas companies. And let me be clear what I mean by that. In terms of if you live in the U.S., there's going to be supply issues. Possibly. I don't know. But that's kind of the general trend that I've seen. But that doesn't have to be that way. Forge World hasn't had supply issues, at least not recently. They keep a good stock, and you can always get their stuff. All right, let's move on to the next topic. Speaking of Forge World, let's talk about resin. So what's happening now is Games Workshop has pulled the metal figures. They're letting them all they're just letting the stocks run down, and they are simultaneously repackaging and stocking up on the exact same thing in resin. And they call it fine cast. And I just have to laugh, because that's the typical thing you do in a market. Les Schwab's patented retread. All they did is they have a machine that just cuts little grooves in the tire. So they take anybody's tire, do some ripping process on it, and then call it, you know, whoever's something patented process. And so, I laugh a little bit when I hear fine cast. It's like, you know, they're using some regular method, and there it is. But if it works, maybe it is some special thing they did. Because you got to admit, Forge World resin figs they're detailed and a lot of imperfections, at least that we can tell.
They don't.
And we love, yes, and for shipping, we're excited for not metal figures in shipping, because the metal figures are a nightmare. A metal figure has to be mummified, and that's in case something breaks off, it doesn't just rub up against, you know, in transit against, and then now you've got paint chippage, which is worse. If it does. But you know, if you have a metal figure the size of a baseball, and a postal worker chucks that package across the room, that little metal figure is like a cannonball inside of that. So when we pack things, we really have to take a ton of extra effort. Sometimes box in box. Like a large metal figure, we'll actually put it inside a box of its own and bubble wrap it and mummify. It has like 4 layers of stuff on it to get it there. But resin figures are lighter. That's less shipping and easier shipping. So there's that factor with resin. Resin's easier to convert, easier to cut, a little bit of heat and things can be repositioned, which makes it in that aspect better than plastic even. So bottom line, I'm excited about resin. I really think that it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be an improvement. The other thing to consider, also with price increases, is governments print money. That's shorthand for what they actually do. In the U.S., as I understand it, the Treasury says we don't have enough money to pay our bills because our house isn't in order and we're pathetic. So the Treasury, now headed by ex-bank members, says, hey, we'll sell you, the Federal Reserve, private cartel of bankers, some U.S. Treasury notes. And so the Federal Reserve says, all right, we got it on tap. So the Treasury writes out a check for $600 billion, right? Basically taking away the life of, you know, millions of citizens. You know, whatever they would have produced in their entire lives was just erased. So they write a check to the Federal Reserve. Oh, I'm sorry. They don't write a check. That's a bad analogy. So the Federal Reserve says, okay, we'll give you dollars. They give the Treasury a check for $600 billion. That now becomes money. It just is at the Treasury. It just becomes, you know, they can write checks to government employees, contractors, private businesses, all the politically well-connected get paid.
I'll take some.
Right? Then what happens is the Federal Reserve takes that check. They go behind their magic curtain and they rip it to little pieces. There was nothing there. They just said, here, you have money. It would be just like me taking out a piece of paper and writing on it 1 million Gately bucks and handing it to you in exchange for a bond or whatever it is, right? And handing it to you, and that you can go out and now spend those Gately bucks because legal tender laws make it so that everybody has to accept Gately bucks. That's our monetary system, and you should be concerned. And people are like, Sean, why politics? Oh, no. It's not politics, it's life. It's a fact of how we live in our nation and how our money goes, and it affects you, and here's how and it just came down. All the marbles clacked together until now you're getting it in the face. And here's how it looks. Government, what? Okay, so the money supply. Whatever country you live in, there is a money supply. It's the number of notes in circulation. Now, if that money supply can only go up or down or stay the same. It's one of those things. In the United States, it's going up, and it's going up by a lot. So businesses that know what's going on, they're aware of this, that the currency is being inflated, and therefore prices will be affected. So if you're smart, you'll make an adjustment before the wave hits you and you get hosed at the lower prices. So, but either it's going up, staying the same, or going down. Now, here's the question. If the money supply is going up, that will have the following effect on prices. Either prices will stay the same, they will go down, or they will go up. Now prices can, if the money's inflated, prices can still go down. There are two ways for this to happen that I can think of off the top of my head. One is government intervention and price controls and subsidies, like for example in the US on corn and dairy. So your milk doesn't go up necessarily because there's subsidies. They take it from other sectors and put it into milk so that you don't notice the milk is going up. And then the other thing could be actual market, legitimate market forces, which is like, for example, if means of production get better, that can drive the prices down, in spite of the money being inflated. It's hard really to tell. I'd estimate that the United States money supply is going to double over the course of the next, conservatively, 18 months, and then prices are going to go up. So right now I think inflation is at least 20%. And here we go. So Games Workshop, they have US dollars, Canadian dollars, and I'm sure some of their spreadsheets they send out have, if they're sending it to Australia, Australian dollars, gold British pounds, whatever it is. So they're expressing the value of their product in whatever it is. Now as customers, we're used to getting a discount on that, which is really a way of saying, well, we're discounting the value of it. We're making another market adjustment for it. What if it were more? What if a retailer said, well, I'm just going to mark it up? I do. I do it with Forge World. I get Forge World. Somebody wants Forge World. Forge World gives no discount. If it's $100 on their website, I pay $100. But if someone paid in PayPal, I only got $97. So I actually took a loss. Plus I take another loss when Forge World sends it and there's a missing piece, and I have to spend human resources dealing with Forge World and getting the piece, lost business from clients getting frustrated that the piece wasn't in there and their project was delayed, additional shipping charges, sometimes, not all the time, they do have free shipping over a certain amount, and also the time that I took. So I actually make a 10% markup on Forge World just so I have a little buffer to break even, in the end break even. And that's great because Forge World puts out such a great product that they can do that. That they're not getting punished by the market. Not punished. They're not getting reacted to by the market by people not buying their stuff or buying their stuff from somebody else. So that's what we need. We need more viable competitors. That's the only thing that's going to get them prices down. But what I'm saying is, with the money thing, is I believe that printing of paper money has made people get into gold Gold prices went up. Silver prices went up. Heather's nodding because Heather buys silver. Isn't that right? You own physical silver. Yeah, she's nodding. Okay, so silver prices go up, and I'm just wondering, just maybe, tin prices have gone up. Oh, look what has tin in it. Ta-da! So, I don't know, but I suspect that that's what's happened, is that Games Workshop and Privateer Press and all these other companies, they were buying their tin, nickel, not lead anymore, antimony. And by the way, get on the dictionary. There's 3 different ways to pronounce that word. And I don't think mine is any one of those. But I'm going to stick with it because that's what I like. So those prices got, so my prediction is those companies were like, oh my gosh, now we gotta raise our prices, or as Games Workshop's doing, they're finding a different method of doing it. Why are they raising their prices instead of lowering them? Because they can. And the question is, will it be sustained by the market? So that's my opinion of the Games Workshop price increases, is don't be so quick to vilify the company. Look to other factors. And if you discount my idea of, well, the various governments are printing money, devaluating their own money, well, it's got to be A, B, or C. Either they're making more money, the same amount or less, and if A, they're making more money, there's more notes in circulation, it either drives prices up, prices stay the same because of it, are unaffected, or prices go down because of it. It's only one of 3 possible things. And it's unlikely that it's going to stay exactly the same. So it's either up or down. And guess what? Metal figure, you were just impacted by your government's doings. And you should be concerned. For the problems, I blame the apathetics. So, that gets into another topic, which is I have overseas clients, and I don't get it. Why are they buying all the way from me and not inside their own country? And I think it's because of VAT. I think it's because the taxes are so high in these foreign countries, but you end up paying them anyway because customs catches the package and then charges you. So I don't understand. Oh, and that gets into the third thing, actually. So you have to look at other factors in price increases. Right now, it's my belief that the U.S. is having actual inflation. Never mind the government reports that tell you everything's great. Has actual inflation of about 20%.
You can look at the grocery
And
store.
I'm not basing that on anything other than just a feeling. But maybe that counts, boots on the ground and all that. So if any company, say Games Workshop is raising their prices, and the thing is, we shouldn't care so much. It's because that pie should be divided in 4 different pieces. But it makes me wonder, well, if Games Workshop were really on a quarter of the pie, had like, say, 30% market share, could they be doing all the wonderful things they're doing? Could they really be making 3 new plastic kits a month? And, of course, the other factors, how are you improving your product? Now, let's talk about, I haven't fully read it and understood it, but my understanding is Games Workshop is changing their contracts now to prevent people from selling outside of their region over the internet, like selling to the United Kingdom if you're in Australia. Or this actually reminds me of what happened to the distributors in the 90s. The Games Workshop said, the distributors aren't doing justice to our product, they're not carrying it very well, they're not supporting it, they don't care about it, it's just another thing in their lineup. Therefore, we are going to become our own distributor, and distributors, they can continue to do so, but they have to have an account just like a retailer does. They wouldn't offer them better terms. And that's typically how it goes. And so a lot of smaller distributors, people that are working out of their home or whatever, they were just knocked right out. They were destroyed, just overnight. So, but the other thing is that Games Workshop has always been protective of the friendly local game shop and has tried to keep them in business because, yes, I know this is opposite of what I've said in the past. Just bear with me. Because they, a brick and mortar can't compete versus an internet thing. So, and originally their stance was pretty hard against internet stores. Even now they don't allow them to put pictures up, and it kind of has, like on the War Store, you have to go to like a special section, and you have to just work off of the, the names. Yeah, it's really weird. So, but that comes from 95% market share. You can just kind of dictate whatever terms you want. And, it's like Lando Calrissian in the Cloud City. This deal keeps getting worse all the time, And I've long predicted that ultimately GW would try and knock the retailers out. And right now I think it's just a weird symbiosis that they haven't been able to get rid of. Because let's not forget, they're a business. They want to make the best margin they can. They're a publicly traded corporation. There's a board of directors. And what I envision is a company with a quarter market share that is not publicly traded and that is kept carefully in gamer-friendly hands. But even that company would be subject to market forces, would be subject to public demand, and would be subject to, not subject to, but would have to keep their prices up in order to have money to compete and improve their product. And I know this because I'm kind of in the same boat. That, if I've raised my prices too. But I've done well with that. I've improved service. I've improved the quality of the person that works here. And that goes hand in hand with raises. I've given raises to people. The only person that hasn't got a raise is me. I've just kept plowing it under and plowing it under and plowing it under and plowing it under and basically just paying my own bills. That won't be forever, but to grow your company, to love your company, to do what you love, and to do things in the community, you just got to keep plowing it under. And that's what I'm in it for. I get a kick out of doing great things in the community and affecting people's lives. That is really, when I hire somebody, I'm set to make 2 to 4 new jobs this year. That is a big deal. 2 to 4 people are going to be risen out of the depths of unemployment into employment in a place that they love, and they can hold their heads high, put food on their table, and pay their bills. And that is just super neat. Plus, people that work here are set to get raises this year.
Woohoo!
That is big. Yeah, we'll see how grateful they are. We'll see how grateful they are. But that goes hand in hand with improving our game. So back to the change in contract. Well, they're a company. They can do whatever they want. And if you don't like it, you can promote something else. And that's the good that I'm hoping that will come out of this. I think increasingly, I hope people will start to see, see things properly and start supporting some different types of games more seriously, including myself. I'm in that group. Well, I've gone on for at least a half hour now, so I'm going to quit.
Sorry.
Okay, so here's what's coming up. One thing, I plan on making a video later this week that talks about levels of painting, and I'm going to go off for like a half an hour on it because I have a lot to say about it, and by means of kind of educating our fan base, potential clients, on
The quality of the levels.
yeah, well, what it all means and how it ties in with pricing and what the thinking is there, because the level system I've come up with is pretty awesome, and I suspect it will be taken as an industry standard. When I first started, I only did 1 level, which was good. What you see on our website, that will do that for you. Here's the price, 1 price. And but then eventually I just caved in and I did levels. And when I went out and looked, I saw that most places just had levels 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I was like, I'm really kind of a 1.5, 2. And then my top level is kind of maybe a 2.5, out of that scale. So I was like, well, I really need to. So originally I went 1 to 8. I split the scale in 2, basically. And now I've kind of amplified. I did 1 to 9, and now I'm doing 0 to 10, but just just to be more comprehensive. Like 0 is unpainted, basically, or has primer on it. You know, then there's level 1, which is, you know, a very amateurish job. Maybe, you know, the 3 colors you see people kind of whip out for a tournament. And then our level 2, which is actually really good, but that's a topic for another segment.